voice so you can hear me better. And sure, I love it. Okay. So, hey guys, it's me. I'm back. It's Kamiko. Howdy do. Why'd I just say that? So I wanted to make a video about some stuff. That was very big. Very big. I had someone very close to my heart pass away this week. My great-grandfather. He's old. He lived a long, great life, in my opinion, and it sucks. But I was talking with my mom. She and I have a lot of really meaningful discussions, especially where religion comes in hand. So if you guys don't know, I'm Catholic. I went through that whole process. I'm actively Catholic. I go to church every week. And she reminded me that even though times like this really suck, it's important to remember that it only sucks for us. You know, the person that passed away, in this case, my great-grandfather, is in a better place. He was one of the most welcoming and loving people that I have ever had the privilege of having in my life. And I think one of those really telling moments, one of those moments that you realize how giving and loving he is when you look around the room. So my family and I had gone to visit my great-grandfather in his hospice room at the retirement center he was staying at. And they were pretty much on a countdown. So it was my family, my aunt and her husband, and then my grandma and grandpa, and then later my cousins came with my uncle, and eventually one of my other uncles came. So there ended up being my dad, two of my uncles, and my grandfather, all in the same room, being with my great-grandfather, who is on his deathbed pretty much. And we got up and we prayed together as a family, and it was really emotional. It was really emotional. And looking around, I looked up for like a couple of seconds and realized that my grandfather was just beside himself. This is making me tear up as I'm re-saying this. He was just beside himself. He was crying and just he had his heart was broken, and you could see it. And my father was teary-eyed, and my uncle as well, and then eventually my other uncle. And I think all of these men in my life are not afraid to show emotion. They're not afraid to show grief, to show sadness, to show happiness. They're not afraid to cry. And I think that's really important, because it goes to show that my grandfather was so loving and caring that he reached out and he touched these people, and he loved them, and he made them feel loved, and in return, you couldn't help but love him back. He was just one of those people. And he instilled those behaviors and those values in the other men of the family, and my dad and my uncles, and my grandfather. Because he was so open. He was just one of those amazing people that was always looking out for others. And sorry, a little emotional. I forgot where I was going with this, but I have to go home soon, so I'm gonna press pause on this and we'll revisit this another time, because this is an important discussion to have, and I feel like I need to have it. But, yeah, I'm gonna pause this for now. Okay, so I am at home now, sitting on my bed in my room. I got a little sidetracked earlier, but fuck. I was telling you about a religious part of the aspect my mom talked about, and my grandfather's passing away. So it was a big comfort to me when my mother reminded me, really, that even though he was leaving us behind, one, he was gonna be in heaven, which is like the best place ever, right? Because if you're a Catholic, you believe that heaven is basically a oneness with God. And since God is love, basically, everything good that ever was or has been, since God is love, when you go to heaven and you're one with God, you just become surrounded and basically are love as well, which I do know that's where my grandfather is, because he was such a loving person. So, that was really comforting. And then she also mentioned that, he was leaving a big family behind, right? But he lived such a long life. She told me, basically, she was like, he's also got a big family already waiting for him up there. And I kind of teared up when she said this, because it was so good. I was so happy to have been reminded that he, of course he's not going to be alone. He's going to be with all of the people that he loved who went before him. And someday I will have the opportunity, and I will continue to look forward to being with the people who have left me and who will leave me down the road, to be with God in the end as well. Like, it was a really, really good talk for she and I to have. My dad was there too. It was good for all three of us to talk about it. And the next day, when he did pass, I got home from school that morning, and I walked in the door, and she's like, "We got a call from your aunt," and immediately I knew. I was like, okay, that means he passed. That means he's gone. He went to heaven. And I told my mom, I was like, I want to thank you for having that conversation with me yesterday, because it really helped. And it did help. It helped a lot. And every time I start to feel bad for myself and for the rest of my family that are still living without this wonderful man, I remind myself that he is in a better place, that he's happy, that he's not uncomfortable or hurting in any way, that he's probably playing his harmonica and dancing to his heart's content and is surrounded by people who love him. And, he's one with God. He gets to meet, he met Jesus. He gets to meet Jesus. How amazing is that? That's so freaking cool. So that was a really comforting, idea to be reminded of, and I kind of wanted to share that with you. My great-grandfather is the first person I am old enough to remember and have been close enough to really get this experience of heartbreak and grief over losing someone. And I wanted to, say to anyone watching, if you've been through these hard times, if you're going through these hard times, it's important to let yourself grieve. And, I have cried a lot in the last couple of days. Sometimes it just sneaks up on you. Sometimes you're happy and everything's good, and you realize that life is going on as it normally would, but then you realize that it's not quite normal. That you're not going to have those holidays where you go and you see your whole family and that person is not going to be there anymore, and that's a sad thought. But everyone that individual has impacted in a good way is going to remember them, and that person is going to live on through these people. So I know for a fact that everyone that my grandfather impacted in any way, because he was always so positive and caring and loving, has a piece of him in them now. And he will continue to grace this planet and plane of existence with his love, because all of his friends and all of his family carry that piece of him with us. And now I'm a mess. I'm glad I took my makeup off. Oh. Anyway, I thought that was important. It made a big impact on me at the time, and it still does. So, if any of you are struggling with a loved one passing away, just remember that they're good. You don't have to worry about them. They're in good hands. It's up to us to live our best lives so that when our time comes, we get to go back and be with them. Okay. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I'll leave some of my social media links below. And if you want to see more of my face talking about whatever it is I feel like talking about, go ahead and subscribe. There'll be more to come. Alright. Thanks for watching. Bye. I love you. Mwah.